How we doing, America? All right, all right. You know, I tell you, as Derek said, I started in the company 6.5 years ago, and I'm really still blown away every single day I wake up at the life that this opportunity is allowing me to live. Where I'm from, it's not Philadelphia, it's not New York City. I'm from a place called Scottsville, Kentucky. We are the home of nothing. We have 5,000 people. That's including the Amish village there. And it's really, really rural. And so being a rural town, not a lot of money there. And, I can remember for as long as I can remember having money problems in the family. And I remember being about that age where you're starting to learn about money and you're starting to learn that, in my case, we don't have any. I must have been 8 or 9 years old, and I wake up in the middle of the night. It's 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm really thirsty, so I go into the kitchen, and I'm going to get some water, and I see my mom there. And she's at the living room table, just covered in bills, just as, end-to-end, phone bills, electric, water. And I see her, and she's got her head in her hands, and she's just sobbing, just crying. And I remember the feeling of being in that situation, and the feeling of hopelessness, and the feeling of, I can't do anything here. And I remember saying to myself then, I don't want to end up like this. And one day, if I have kids, I don't want them to ever have to feel this way. And so, asking how to become successful, how do you get out of that situation? I got the same advice I think probably most of you got. Christoph, you want to be successful, you got to work hard, you got to get good grades, you got to go to university, then maybe go to more university, then maybe go to more university. And in my case, it was, Christoph, you got to work hard, you got to get good grades, then you got to go to university, but we can't afford it, so you need to pick something, get really, really good at it. That way you can get a scholarship to university, and you'll be successful and go work for a big company, retire in Florida. It's going to be great. And so I'm like, all right, I need to pick something. So I'm thinking, okay, it could be a football player, maybe be a basketball player, maybe be a baseball player. I chose clarinet player. Guess I thought it would help me out with the ladies. I worked really, really hard at that, and I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, and was able to study with this lady, Cassie Lee, who at that time was one of the best 25, 30 clarinet players alive. And I remember reading a book before I went off to university, this line, and it said, if you want to know where you're going to be in 5 years' time, or you want to know where you're going to be in 10 years' time, take what you're doing right now. Find someone else who's doing exactly the same thing and is really good at it, but it's just been doing it for 5 years longer than you. And that's where you're going to be in 5 years. And so working with Cassie Lee, it was strange because I could see, okay, this is the path I'm on. This is where I'm going to go. I'm going to end up exactly in her shoes if I turn out to be good enough, if I make it, if I can pound away 16 hours a day in a practice room, if I can maybe get lucky enough, if I maybe have everything that it takes. This is a preview of coming attractions. And what I saw was not what I had in my head. What I saw was a lady who worked 7 days a week. And I remember she invited me over to her house once for spaghetti. It was like the clarinet player's spaghetti party. So we get there, and this lady, she doesn't even have a TV in her house. She's got a little living room with a chair, a music stand, hundreds of stacks of music, and she was always stressed out. She was never motivated. She never had an unbelievable attitude. She was just getting by, just like my family, just gotten by. And 2 years into university, I come in for a lesson one day and sit down. She's like, all right, get out your music. And I look at her and I say, Cassie, can I talk to you? She's like, yeah, sure, what's up? I said, listen, I don't think I want your life. And she kind of stared at me for a second, and then she said, go close the door. And I appreciate this conversation so much. I came back and I sat down, and she said, listen, please don't tell anyone that I told you this, because I'll get fired if you do. But go do something else. This is a hard life. Truth be told, the reason I teach here is because I don't even make enough at the orchestra to pay my bills. And you've got big things you want to do for yourself. You've got big things you want to do for your family. I'd be lying to you if I told you it could happen here. It won't. And, I appreciate that advice so much. So, I left Vanderbilt. I got into the restaurant business, and Started out there bussing tables and working my way up, eventually made waiter. And you know, I'd always had this preconceived notion that, you know, if you were born poor, you're going to end up poor. If you're born middle class, you're going to end up middle class. If you're born rich, you're going to end up rich. That's what I was taught, and that's what I believed. And after 2 years of working at this restaurant, I got put in charge of the VIP room. So basically, my job was to wait on really rich people all day, make them feel great. And, you know, that was in my head that, okay, well, these people are rich because that's where they came from. And what I learned over the next 2 years was really enlightening. I learned that's not how it is. Every single one of the people that I met in there, all the friends I made there, they were all self-made. They all owned their own company. And most of them started out in a lot worse situation than I did. They were just hungry enough to get it. So I went on this rampage of okay, well, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, if they were from that situation, then I can get out of my situation too. How am I going to do it? So I started reading a lot. I didn't have any money, but I had a credit card. So I'd go to Barnes & Noble, and I had this routine. So I'd go to Barnes & Noble, I'd buy about 20 books on success or leadership or running a business or self-help or any of these things that are supposed to teach you how to become, you know, financially wealthy. And then I also bought a big Oxford English dictionary. And so what I would do is I'd read the book very, very, very carefully, and then I would put it under the dictionary for a few days so it looked like it had never been read. And then I'd take the books back to Barnes & Noble, return them. Yeah, no, I didn't read these. You know, they were a gift, wrong gift, you know. And I did this for 8 months. I did this, and you know, eventually I'm coming back in. I'm like, yeah, I need to return these. They're like, really? Again? Let me guess, unread, right? Okay. But, you know, all these books, I learned so much, and they really taught the same thing that we teach. They talked about attitude. They talked about leadership. They talked about getting out of your comfort zone. They talked about expanding your horizons. And after a while, you know, I remember running into this author, Robert Kiyosaki, reading all his books. He wrote this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, who probably a lot of you guys are familiar with. And, you know, so I remember reading every book that he had this one weekend, and I'm getting so frustrated. This is 8 months. I'm going through everything I can. I'm like, okay, I get it. I agree. I understand, but where do I go? What do I do now? You know, I'm expecting to turn the page, and it's like, okay, if you agree, then call this number, and we'll get you set up, you know? So I'm so frustrated, and, you know, I tell people a lot, you know, I don't think that doing the business is the hardest part about the business. I think the hardest part about the business is finding it in the first place. And when it found me, you know, I wouldn't say that I looked at it and said, oh, okay, it's a door-to-door company. I didn't see that. What I saw was a chance. I remember seeing an opportunity meeting and thinking, this is it. This is my chance. This is my chance to have a better life. This is my chance to go do something great. This is my chance to help out my family. And I remember my first week in the business, maybe my second or third day, you know, I'm on a conference call, and it was Derek Colantonio, and he's talking, and I'm like, okay, here's this successful guy, and he's going to teach me how to do this. What do you got to do? What do you got to do? And he's like, you got to get out of your comfort zone, you know? You got to expand your comfort zone, and you got to get in uncomfortable situations. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. And I'm like, all right, cool, so I got to get uncomfortable. Well, so I start in the field, and it's not that hard to get a clarinet player very uncomfortable in the field. We're not really used to dealing with people at all, so that was a little challenging at first. And, you know, I managed to go 3 or 4 weeks where my comfort zone, my limit was about 20 no's. And somehow, through sheer luck, I'd gone about 20 days in a row where I'd always gotten a sale before lunch. So, you know, I'd go about 15 no's and then get my sale before lunch, and, you know, so it looked to everybody else like I'm doing good, but really my attitude was so weak. And I had this one day, we went out, we were knocking in this place called Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and it was my first day. I didn't get a sale before lunch. So my attitude just crumbled, and by 5 o'clock, I've talked to 78 people. No one said yes. I'm just done. I mean, I'm negged out. And you know, Derek talked earlier. He said, you know, about his day, one and only day where he left, and this was my day. And I gave up. I'm done. You know, I'm walking back to my car. I had a little beat up Volvo, and walking back and get my merch and just throw it in the back seat and driving. Just thinking, okay, well, I'm just gonna go drive back home. Tell my family that I don't know what I'm gonna do next. Start getting mad, you know, punching the driving wheel. I'm like, gosh, why can't I find something I'm good enough at that I can do? And it wasn't that the business was bad. It wasn't that I didn't think it worked. I just didn't think that I worked for it. I didn't think that I had what it took. And I'm driving, and I happen to pass this movie theater. And back then, I would go to movies constantly because, a movie was a time where you could forget about your problems. You could forget about your life. You could go in there, and at least for 2 hours, you're into something different. And, I'm so negged out. I'm like, I'm going to go see a movie. I got $6 in my pocket left. We're gonna go spend it on a film. I'm going to go see a comedy. It's going to be funny. So I'm getting out of the car, and I'm looking at, they have the pictures outside of the box office, and I see Will Smith. And I love Will Smith. I think he's hilarious. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to see Will Smith. It's going to be a comedy. I'm going to feel great. It'll be fine after this. And so I go to see this movie, and it wasn't a comedy. It was a movie called The Pursuit of Happiness. If anybody's ever seen this. And, by the end of this movie, Will's in there, and he's sleeping on the basement, and he's in the subway with his kid, and he's trying to make the calls. And by the end of the movie, I'm like, come on, Will, you can do it, let's go, baby, you're a winner. And I'm getting into it, and I'm walking out of the movie, I'm thinking, Christoph, you are so weak. Come on, let's go. If somebody else can do this thing, you can do this thing. You just got to learn to expand your comfort zone. And so my story's really been a story of trying to find every opportunity that I could that was going to make me uncomfortable and take it. So, I had a chance to move to Atlanta and work with Derek, which for me, from Scottsville, Atlanta might as well have been the moon. Some huge city in the South that I just heard stories about on the news. And so I took that. I had a chance to go open up my first office in St. Louis. And things were going really, really well. But I did reach a point there, as an owner where I started to get comfortable. I was making good money. Things were great. I'm 24 years old. I'm making some money. Things are all right. I do a few interviews, and that's what we're doing. And, at that point, I'd spent a whole lot of time talking to Justin Cobb, and he had just gone on this adventure to the UK, and, had gone back to the field, had built up a crew again. He was running an office now, and we were talking. I said, okay, hey, is there any chance I could listen to one of your leaders' meetings, over conference call? And so he said, yeah, and he said something in that leaders' meeting that stuck with me ever since. He's talking to his leaders, and he's like, all you guys, you spend all your time bitching, you spend all your time moaning, you spend all your time complaining, and you're saying the same thing over and over. Oh, the business is asking this of me. The business is asking, so many hours of me. The business is asking so many days that I work. So the business is asking all these sacrifices. And he said, but what are you asking of the business? And that's the real question. And I put that question to myself. I said, well, what am I asking of the business? And the great thing about our company is you can ask whatever you want. And in my case, I was asking to be able to help out my mom and dad. I was asking to have financial freedom. I was asking for a lot of things. And so when I got the opportunity, I said to myself, I've got to get uncomfortable again. I've got to do something to get uncomfortable. And when I got the opportunity to go work with Justin in London and go back to the field and start over again as a leader and build a crew, I took it. And was that painful? Sure. Was that super, super, super fun every day? Of course not. But I learned. I got uncomfortable, and I grew. And when I got the opportunity to go to Portugal, it was the same thing. I was supposed to only go there for a weekend, and we had a couple Spanish guys there that were on some sort of semi-road trip, and I remember sitting with Justin and saying, oh, let me come here. And so I get the opportunity to go there, and you think it's me and two guys. None of us speak Portuguese, and we're sitting down with them, we're having a beer at night, and I'm saying, all right, we're gonna put 100 guys in this country in the next 12 months. Here's how we're gonna do it. And they're saying, Christoph, we don't even speak the language. How are we gonna do this? And I'm saying, well, DC always taught me, Justin always taught me, it's pitch, pace, attitude. They never said pitch, pace, attitude, language, so I don't think we need it. So, we go out there, and it's funny, in Portuguese, the word for no is now. Right? And so I was out there pitching them, and I had a translator with me. We're pitching them, and they're saying now. And I'm like, yeah, sign up now. They're like, now. And I'm like, yeah, sign up now. So we were taking no's in some different languages. And again, a year ago, I got a chance to go do exactly the same thing in Italy. Started out just a couple guys. None of us, again, spoke the language, and, it was the same kind of story. The first day that we got there, we went to a place called Gorgonzola. Which I'm assuming is where Gorgonzola cheese, comes from. So we went out. It was three of us, myself and two other owners. And I don't know what they have in Gorgonzola. Maybe they had a lot of cheese, but they definitely did not have any yeses. There were no yeses in Gorgonzola that day. You know, and we're sitting down that night, it's 3 owners, you know, and we're like, how are we going to do this? We can't even speak to people. And it's the same thing. We'll just pitch, pace, attitude. What we can do here is all determined by what's in our control. And just through sheer work ethic, through sheer having a better attitude than everybody else, through sheer asking more questions than everybody else, we can get whatever we want. And, you know, last week we promoted our 10th manager in Italy. And we're set to do more and more and more. And we look at Credico and what we're doing overall, we're just getting started. So, you know, I look at this business and I think, man, it's given me so much. The opportunity to travel the world, live in Milan, send money back home every single month. And Mama's not crying about bills anymore. So it's been worth it to me. I hope it's worth it to you guys. Thank you. All right, you guys want some awards? Okay, our next award is called the 2020 Club. This is for any owner that has achieved 20 reps in the field and $20,000 saved. So first up, winner of the 2020 award, Adrian Forney. Come on down. Allison Anapolsky. Amanda Bush. Antoine Bell. Ayush Sukhani. Baliram Kukwi. Brenda Bernal. Colin Moore. Frank Pallone. Jason Malone. Jason Ward. Kai Petrich. Kayla Nielsen. Christine Gaviola. Michael Mounter. Nona Black. Paul Pinto. Sergio Della Rosso. And Stefan Mainhart. Great job to you guys. Now for the bigger club. This is the 50-50 club. So these are owners who have put 50 representatives in the field and saved $50,000. First member of the 50-50 club goes to Bart Yates. Congratulations. Also in the 50-50 club, Colin Ausfeld. Congratulations to Daniel Rosenberg. Come on down, Alana Diaz. Eric Martin. And last but not least, Mr. Tim Kennedy. Congratulations. All right, let's give
give a hand to the 2020 50/50 award winners. The next guy we're going to bring up is, he's pretty close to my heart. A bunch of years ago, I moved myself, my family to Atlanta, Georgia, just to work with this guy. And he's a guy that ran a great business. He opened up his first company in Charlotte, North Carolina, and ran a great office there, made a lot of money, saved a lot of money, and then went to a bigger city, moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where he ran a bigger business, made more money. And then the outside of his business was doing real well. I mean, his sales guys did well. He made well. He did well. He had a Porsche. He had a beautiful apartment. On the outside, everything was going well, but there's some stuff that he had to work, in the inner workings of his business. So I got a chance to spend about 6 or 7 months down there to work with Justin to kind of say, hey, you could be so great at this business. Kind of like when you have that rookie on your team, that brand new person that they have all the desire in the world. They have no problem with the effort. They have no problem with the energy. They have no problem, doing the work. They're just, at 100 miles an hour, you make some mistakes along the way. And to be able to focus that person to say, hey, let's not rely on what you're strong at, but it'd be great at this business to really take it to the next level, to be able to make that $1 million a year. You're going to have to become the total package. And there's some time that we have to work on the hardest part of your game. And just like anybody else, when you get good at something, that's what you want to do all the time. And unfortunately, sometimes when you have success and you're great at certain things, it masks what you're not good at, and that's what he had to come to grips with. 6 months we worked together, and we spent a lot of time together, like 7 in the morning to midnight, a lot of nights, 5, 6, 7, 8 days a week, whatever it took. And at the end of 6 months, we really felt like we had turned his business around. And at the end of 6 months, the business was, running smooth. And I should have been having the conversation with him where it's like, hey, Justin, in 6 months from now, you're going to be a regional director, and you're on your way to, the big time as far as ownership's concerned. Instead, we had a very drastically different conversation where I said, okay, the last 6 months we built a great business, and what I want you to do is leave it behind and go to London. And that's exactly what he did. Right now, of all the explosive organizations that we have, this guy is having an unbelievable record-breaking time. He's got 125 owners on his team with 75 assistant managers. Right now he does business in Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Brazil. Just went to Poland a couple months ago and is opening France this summer. Earlier when we talked about that person that's making 1.2 million, Justin right now is on track to make 1.25 million this year. He's a great example of intensity and energy, and we want to bring him up to the stage to tell his story, also to announce another wave of award winners. So please welcome Mr. Justin Cobb.